Hi, I'm Roy Collin, the host of the podcast. You can find everything about me by scanning the QR code there or going to roycollin.com. And you'll find my six podcasts: the Podfather, helping people become podcasters; the Awakening, exposing fraud and corruption, but with solutions; the Crypto, all things blockchain technology; meditation podcast; speaking podcast; and the Learn Polish podcast. You can also help the show by actually making a donation, visiting the store, or helping my sponsors. I hope you enjoyed this week's show. Welcome to the Awakening Podcast. You can find all our episodes on awakeningpodcast.org. My guest is the president of the Swiss Association, WIR. He is one of the most influential Swiss opponents of the New World Order Agenda 2030 and the international implementation of 5G. His educational campaigns reveal the ignorance of governments and politicians on these two issues and help to change the world view of local citizens with facts and sources. He has spent around 20 years in international business development, focusing on various tools and technologies for integrative medicine. This has enhanced him to connect and stay connected with hundreds of doctors, scientists, practitioners, therapists, and patients worldwide. He's currently working on various topics such as 5G, crisis preparedness, WIR, marketplace, health politics, World Health Organization, and currently also with the media boycott. His work includes coordinating various freedom movements, obtaining legal opinions, and mobilizing grassroots organizations. He's also involved in launching criminal charges, political initiatives, and other activist projects in Switzerland and neighboring countries. He has been on our broadcaster's live stream on the 7th of January, which was recorded on the 16th of December. That's when I released it. On the 1st of March and the 7th of February. So there are episodes 133, 147, and 208, because after hearing what he's got to say today, I reckon you should go back and listen to them. Please welcome Christian Oesch. Oesch. I know it's hard to, apologies for the surname, so you might pronounce it properly for the listeners.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. You know, my name is Christian Oesch or Oesch. The people in America say Oesch. I know it's hard to pronounce the umlaut, the way we call it here in Switzerland. But it's Christian Oesch.
Okay. So, but before we delve into everything, like WIR, so that doesn't mean nothing to kind of obviously local. You might explain what the WIR is.
Yeah, it stands for effectiveness, intuition, and respect. That's the German, abbreviation, so to say. But yes, we're trying to be, with all the concepts that we work on and stuff, we're trying to have effectiveness and we're trying to have us guide from inside. We don't think too much. We're just trying to feel it, the intuition, and then with respect, because if we are working with the politicians, we need to have a certain way to deal with them so they don't just completely block us right up front. So we're been, I think, really successful with that approach, and that's why we brought it into our name. And weird is also as we as the people. It stands also for that. So it's a perfect way for us to integrate what we stand for and also include all the people, the sovereign people, with all the concerns we have and all the themes that we work through and all the projects that we launch and so it's going on for 6 years, and we have quite a bit of a network here in Switzerland, and that's growing daily, and obviously with the international projects, and then obviously platforms like yourselves, Roy, it helps us get the word out. And though I'm very appreciative being on your show today, and I hope I have a few things for your audience that seem interesting for them as well.
What I love actually about yourself is you're always looking at for the solution. And that's what this whole show was based about, because there's loads of people out there, kind of the doom and gloom, and that's the end of it. And everyone goes away then feeling bad. It's like watching the news, whether you're listening on the radio for 5 minutes or you're watching the TV, it just makes it never gives you the feel good factor. But when we have solutions, that's when we feel there's hope. And that's what I love about what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's the same here in Switzerland. So many people are almost feel like they're paralyzed, with all the bad news, especially the last 4 or 5 years. It's very hard to motivate people, and show them, the courage, and show them motivation. And so every project that we really should say develop, so to say, the platform that we have, each of these projects always focuses on a solution. These solutions are different. Some solutions are just to become active and do something about it, even if it's just writing letters to your politicians. So we're focusing on the grassroots movements. In other words, developing tools where we can put them into the people's hands so they can become active. And the ones that are not in a situation to actually get involved, then they may have some money that can sponsor us through a membership or donations. So we have all different levels of support, and we're very sensitive to how we communicate with our supporters. We have members in almost every continent, in this world that are supporting our projects. And so that allows us, with budgets and then concepts to then focus on a new project. And with that, we can turn it over and, have everyone, participate at whatever level they feel comfortable supporting us with. So it's worked out extremely well. And obviously, like it is everywhere else. I mean, we have organizations that are actually in the same movement, but there is also some kind of almost like a challenge, who has the better ideas and stuff like that, and who is doing which project and who has the better project. So are you still going and voting, or you not vote anymore? You just have, based on whatever focus you have. We have people that are almost contrary in the movement of what we're doing. So we have some challenges of defamation, slander, and some things. It's really silly stuff, but it also is part of this whole awakening, so to say, that even people that are in the movement are causing hurdles, so to say, for certain things to happen. We experienced that with the media boycott that we've launched, 2 years ago. We developed a media boycott about mainstream media because they're no longer following their own guidelines. The journalist codex that we have, the Swiss have a specific codex here for all journalists, and anyone that works for the media, even in the technical parts and stuff, they're supposed to follow the law. So we have TV, we have radio laws, and then we have this, the fees that we have to pay every year to the government, and that's mandatory. So it's 335 Swiss francs for every family that has to pay, and that caused a major stir. So we did launch this platform, the media boycott, about this. And then we had people in our movement that really would want to have alternative new media like yourselves to get the information out. Other organizations in our movement wouldn't support us. So we're like, what? How come? How come? So, and then we figured out why they're not supporting us, because there were some people in some of the organizations that were still trying to have be a candidate for certain government levels. So they depend then on media, on the mass media, to get into the newspapers and come on TV and stuff like that. So they were like giving me a hard time for starting a media boycott, which obviously was to cancel subscriptions that you have with the big newspapers that would just censor us and stuff like that. So it really kind of gave me an idea what activism really does, even for the same side of the equation. Like, people that recognized what happened the last 4 years was a massive fraud up on the whole world. That coordinated effort with the pandemic through the World Health Organization and the WEF and all that stuff. But then all the way down to the nitty gritty with our organizations, it created separation and stress and competition, and competition for memberships, competition for donations. So it's been an amazing experience for me personally as the president for this organization here that we operate under. So it's just been fantastic for me to see the pros and the cons of everything. And we know when things get so foggy, we're all stuck in the blur, Roy. We always trying to bring it down to common sense. And that's why we have intuition in a part of our name. We have to be able to feel it, because some people just trying to solve all the problems in the head. And when things get so confusing and stressed and almost this emotional anguish, I suggest that we go back and feel the heart. And I did about 2.5 years ago. I had to also figure out a new way, because I was still, from my past business experience, trying to think everything in the brain, in the head, to really strategize, to have also tactics and all the stuff that we applied in the business world, to kind of let that go and come back down and feel it, feel it in your heart. What's right, what's wrong? If you have a situation that it's really tough, you can't see through, trust yourself, trust your heart, for your heart to make the right decision. And since I've done this, I think, Roy, our projects that we're working on have been more successful. We're connecting better to the people on the ground. And in order for our movement to have traction, you have to be able to get the trust from the people, that the people on the ground trust in what you're doing, trust in your project, trust in your tools that you're developing for them. And especially what I have learned is people don't necessarily follow what you're saying, but they watch what you do. And if you go ahead and you do it first, they will follow. And this is pretty much the basis and the core in how we were able to build a very successful network here in Switzerland and abroad.
Yeah, beautiful. And the thing is as well, when you're coming from the heart, because a lot of the time, based on people's belief system, they'll attack you. But if you go with love and you understand that they're just going with their belief system based on the propaganda and lies that they were fed, they feel that as well. That they don't get as aggressive, because the thing is, when you're working on the head and people are attacking you retaliate. But when you're working from the heart, you don't. You accept it. And there's a total different... And I'm seeing that shift is happening a lot. People are kind of understanding that. And that's why, like even engagement in social media and stuff like that, there's no point in attacking anybody or fighting back just because they have a different belief system. And, your talks on the TV license. I mean, Ireland, I think it's about €200 there, the BBC, like all they've been doing for, the last 5-6 years is regurgitating lies. And I know that I heard 6, and then I heard 5 corporations own 90% of the media. And like we see there now in the States, like that the amount of money that's actually being sent to media organizations, which, if they can't wash their face on themselves, why is that happening? Because they're pushing an agenda. And if you look at like the amount of tax paid between some of the European countries, it's like 50%. So we're paying this money, and then we're looking at what they're doing to us. They're actually killing us by spraying and putting these planes in the air. And it's like everything is all orchestrated. So when you were younger, you were thinking the government's got my best at heart and they're looking after me and protecting me. And, as you go along, you go, what's going on here? So there's so much we can delve into. But where I'd like to start is, and I don't know, is there a correlation? Because I wasn't aware of the spider's web thing, and we'll touch on that. But what I am aware is the fog, and I don't know, are they connected? Because even today, I'm recording it now. I created a Facebook group just recently because I want to start recording it daily and saying what's happening here. My friend who's Dutch is living in Romania, the exact same thing, fog all the time. My son was very sick last week. A lot in the school, they even were threatening that they might have to close down the school because there was so many sick. This is all orchestrated. That's not normal. I mean, anytime I was in school years ago, like I grew up in the 70s, that wasn't normal. You don't see that kind of thing. This is all... So if it's not related, let's touch on the fog first.
Yeah, I think, thank you for mentioning that. We obviously have the same here in Europe, specifically also here in Switzerland. And what's interesting, we're getting lots of emails and private, messages on Telegram and all over the place about the fog. And but I have to take this right up front, is we have not looked at the fog in the lab. So our lab analysis, the latest project here worldwide, that's really stirring up anything and everything multiple times more than any other projects we ever did. And in the November 2023, we launched the UN Agenda 2030, okay? And we did a complete rebuttal on those 17 targets, what they're trying to accomplish with the UN Agenda 2030. And that really stirred up things as well. And we had an organization in Switzerland that assisted us, and we have it now in 28 languages. This is a great platform. Each module, all the 17 targets, has an individual, independent module, or you can watch the whole movie with an intro about the UN and, how this whole thing is actually built on top. So everything that we're experiencing, Roy, good, bad, especially the bad, has all to do with this UN Agenda 2030. Also, climate change, okay? So geoengineering, weather manipulation, this is all part. 5G is all that, the mandatory vaccinations, this whole mRNA, death jab and stuff. This is all part of UN Agenda 2030. So we call it the Trojan horse. So, but I have to tell you, we have not looked at the fog. And in order to keep the respect and the trust for our organization, I try to really speak specifically of the stuff that we have looked at, that we have facts, we have evidence. And when we just assume things, I spent time in the United States with a former sheriff's deputy that was a constitutional lawyer. He taught us law, common law, and he told us all about marital law. He told us what's wrong in this whole world about the judicial system. So, and he told us in the classes, like, assume means, if you break it down, as you me. So don't as you me by assuming things that we don't know. We just take hearsay for granted and we spread something around that we don't know. We could anticipate that fog right now that we see all over the place, really low hanging and stuff like that, not really dry. So in other words, like no moisture to it, that this is part of the geoengineering and we know when we follow the patterns, okay, we have answers to our questions. That takes a lot of time. And coming back to these strings that we have been looking at, the mysterious strings that look like spider webs, or they sold us that this is spider webs, the government and the media back in 2022 in the fall. It was October 14th through the 16th. These strings were coming down all over Europe, from North Italy all the way to North Germany, across Switzerland, Austria, all the way to the Netherlands. We found these spider webs, and we can go into all these details. But then what we have done is I accumulated a team that had the wherewithal, the experience, and the know-how to look at this. And we put a lab team together and we went into the lab and we spent 22 months in the lab. So now we know exactly what is in those strings. The technology in there is so insanely advanced, Troy, it will blow your mind. And that is what I'm trying to say here is that it takes time to really get the answers. It takes a qualified team to look at these things in the labs. So we are not going to, be easily be brushed off by the other side. Okay. So, and as we go through this dialogue, we have the results from this analysis. We spread it now across the world, and we did not too long ago an interview in the United States with Raynette Sanoum. She was a candidate to become governor in the state of California. She has her own network, Foghorn Express. She has her own Substack, and we launched this with her internationally, and talked about our whole lab analysis and how we went about this and all that. So all your viewers, can then link that, so all your viewers can go and look at this initial, so to say, interview that then also allows our presentation in English about the actual lab analysis. It's very technical, but then we don't have an issue where people can say, yeah, you know what, these guys are just making up things, they're assuming things. No, we know exactly. And what's the crazy thing about it is with our lab work, we were able to actually confirm the technologies mentioned in the patents. And those patents, believe it or not, are 20 years old, the application. And when it was issued, one of them was registered, applied for in 2004, and then issued 10 years later in 2014. And that is a very specific patent that showed us what is possible with those strings. So we had to go in there and verify the technology so to actually get a match. And so that's where we're at. And so I can't really comment too much about the fog because we haven't really looked at it. But I just know that tremendous amount of people are constantly sick. And as you shared in the introduction, I'm pretty well connected with scientists and doctors. So here in Switzerland, I'm working behind the scenes on a new project with a doctor network. For a new concept for health insurance and stuff like that. So, and there we talk with each other, and these doctors, they tell me what's the latest, and so what they're telling me is that we have an amazing amount of increase in young people having pneumonia. So, issues with their lungs by breathing this stuff in. So we anticipate, I can't confirm it, but we anticipate there is nanodust in those fogs, okay? So we're breathing the thing, and we know in our dialogue also with scientists out of the United States, they're trying to work us in towards the transhumanism. So we're trying to modify our biological system and become almost like a robotic, computerized humans walking around here. So it's really scary stuff. And when we talk more about the strengths and the technology, more of that stuff will, become aware for your audience. But the fog itself, we have not looked at, so I can't really go into any details there. And I don't want to assume.
But I appreciate that, and you've always been like that. So, but that's enough information for me. That's perfect. That's what people want to hear. What I want to ask is, because I actually looked at that video that you recommended, and I've seen, irrespective of a lot of different things, why is it that they put out a patent and they give the information they're doing? If they're so evil and everything, why are they even making it a patent? Why is it not just done that nobody knows how it's created?
I think this is a phenomenal idea. I have to come back to the intuition, okay? What does the heart tell me? The heart tells me that most people, when you're working for somebody, you want to give your best. I mean, when you pop out as a baby out of your mom, okay, you're so pure. Everything is pure, okay? So we get corrupt as we go through life, through the school system, higher education, university. And now, Roy, you probably have, cases as well where people, when you submit your thesis, to get your bachelor's or your master's, if you don't follow the narrative, they fail you in the universities. So you don't get your diploma after 4 years of studies or something like that. This is crazy. So we're being indoctrinated. And this happens not just in the school system, this happens also at work. So, but I want to go from that point. Most people that are innovative, they want to solve a problem in this world. So when they think about a technology, okay, so if we had such strings and we developed this for agriculture, right? And it is really initially for agriculture, this patent. So these strings have the technology available to them where they can send and spin those strings specifically a crop. If it's potato, if it's wheat, okay, if it's whatever, if it's corn, they can specifically spin a field based on positive, negative charge through the electrospinning that's happening from the airplanes or from drones. It's so amazing. The patent gave us a way that can specifically spin a human part, a head, an arm, a leg, and also from animals. So this is phenomenal technology, all right, for certain things. If you want to, let's just say you have potato crop and you want to, well, maybe you want to put pesticide on this so you don't have bugs eating your crop, whatever it is. So for farming, the invention could make sense for a certain thing, makes sense. But then comes the negative forces into it. I'm talking here about the military operation. I'm talking about Secret Service, okay? CIA, Mossad, MI6, these have these crazy ideas and use a positive developed technology for the bad stuff. And this is where we derail from the innovation. So when we go look and we follow a patent application, it's interesting in how it's applied for. And then when it's issued, it's one thing when it's applied for. What we really have to pay attention to is which patents are maintained. In other words, you keep paying to keep going by the time you then get it issued. That's a totally night and day. Application first till you get it issued. There's a process. So the time when it gets issued so it's got issued, it will most likely found an application somewhere. And in most cases is not the ones that have developed the technology are not the ones that are actually doing the applications of the technology. And that's where the big digging, starts is, okay, we can follow the patents, the technologies, but it's a different animal to then find out who is doing it, okay? So this thing with the strings is like, we can't tell you right now who is actually putting it out, who is responsible, who is paying for it, who is saying when, where, and so there's just so much requirements to really get to the bottom of all these things. It's amazing.
Because I've seen different patents for different things, but a lot of the times they've got the demonic number in it, how they can actually control what number it is. But also, either Rothschilds or Gates or something like that, or through Microsoft, with that one connected with the spider's web. Is there somebody's name that is connected with it that people would know?
No, right now not. We cannot tell you exactly which organization is behind it. We can just, kind of think for ourselves who is doing this. And maybe, okay, we heard the latest over the last few days, this US aid organization being picked apart by Donald Trump's administration now, seeing what they all have funded. In other words, all the money they put into the main mass media, okay, controlling media. But there's some rumors out, I cannot confirm this, but there's very possible that it's a CIA front, okay, USAID, that it also funded black op operations such as geoengineering and weather manipulation. So if this happens, okay, these guys had a major budget every year. Billions. So we are lucky that some of the stuff will stop being sprayed, because when the money doesn't flow anymore, projects just stop all of a sudden. So we can only hope, and that's my positive twist to this whole thing. We will see what really happens. if they keep spraying us and all that stuff, who knows who is exactly behind it? We have good idea who it is, and it's an extremely well coordinated effort the way we see it, right?
One day I've got John Perkins, the guy that wrote Confessions of an Economic Hitman, and the way that they took over the different countries. But have they done that to every country in Europe? How are each government allowing this to happen? Because I mean, the reality is, even local level, this is happening to their children, their whole family, and themselves. Like on the crops, these toxins are going on the crops which they're eating. It's going into the water that they're drinking, and their children are breathing it. So is the whole lot controlled that not one state has independence?
Oh, this is one of the most questions that I get to answer. I'm not sure if I find the right answer to it. How would politicians, let this happen? It is my personal experience, Roy, that most politicians are clueless. They really don't look at this as a priority. They get stacks of paper every day, the national government especially. They're being chewed up and spit at from all sides. So they are just in a narcissist state of mind, to just focus on them or on those things that their party is telling them is a priority. So if it's not a priority for this individual politician, and most of them, even if you have individual politicians in a party, they have no chance. They're getting crushed by their own party. So we have to assume that international funding is flowing into our political system. It's corrupting our politicians through the party. So if the party gets international funds, through the lobby, if that is pharmaceutical, if that is the military industrial complex, if this is the weather manipulation, geoengineering industry, so to say, these politicians are numb, so to say, from taking this into their own hands, because all they're focusing on is to make sure they're being voted in again next time they go through the loop of getting through the voting and the elections process. That is my personal experience. Then the other thing is most people in politics today are really, almost every one of them is a narcissist. So they don't care. It's all for them. And you have to ask, so how did they let it happen? Well, because they don't read into it. They haven't seen our lab analysis. They say, well, this nonprofit organization, they just push conspiracy theories on us the whole time. This guy is nuts. Christian Oesch is nuts. They don't spend the time to do the lab analysis and understand, hey, we found over 30 toxic substances, not just the string on the outside, the material that's transporting the inside. We have confirmed these strings are whole inside. They can be filled with all sorts of things, with pesticides, all the way to biological, parts, all the way to medicine, Roy. They don't know this. So when their kids play out in the yard and their kids look at these strings like it's sugar candy and they eat it, they don't do anything about it because they have never spent the time and the focus to read the stuff that we're trying to tell them. So it is extremely tough, Roy. You know that with your alternative broadcast platform, we're trying to wake up these people like, are you guys stupid or what? And it's just so hard because they can't allow themselves to make waves inside a political party, because if they do, they're getting pushed around and they're told, if you don't shut up, you're out of the party. We kick you out of the party. And so what happens to them? Well, they have not thought about the way we look at things. I looked at my situations before I went into war, so to say, in the public, doing this kind of work I do. Do I have a job that I depend on? Can they take my career away? So when you have something to lose, like your job or your career or your cash flow, so to say, and we're talking cash flow, money, how do you pay your bills? If you're set up that nobody can destroy you by taking your job away or causing, complete havoc to your career, I don't care. Nobody can. That is the perfect platform to go out into activism when you have they can't take anything from you. And most people don't have that. So when you have a politician that is not willing to start from scratch, okay? Starting maybe, when his political career is put on the line, they're not taking that risk. But I'm just saying, they have to think about it. Am I going to go step out and take this in my hands and make waves so I can lose my job, my cash flow, I can lose my career? I work with people, I work with scientists, professors, especially physicists that have lost their job, their career over exposing Nord Stream pipeline blow over a mini nuke. I have a friend that did this worldwide. He's very famous. I don't need to call his name right now, but they completely destroyed his career, Roy. And it's amazing. So how many people are willing to start all over again after everybody took it away from you? That's why we don't see action in the system. You don't see action from politicians. So the only way we can address this, I think, is to do exactly what we have been doing, because I can say that because I see how it's working, is educating the everyday sovereign people, your family members, your neighbors, and I know most of them don't listen either. They're too busy listening to you. So I just focus on those that want to hear it, that want to become active. So out of a population, you may have 5 to 10% that are willing to listen. It's almost like network marketing, Roy, I mean, network marketing, you spend 80%, maybe even 90% of your time working on the deadbeats that don't do a damn thing. You're just trying to tell them the opportunity, hey, and you don't work with the ones that are there, ready, able, and willing. You don't spend time with them, Bill. So I think this is really key here for your audience. Spend only time with the people that are really able, ready, willing, and able to grab it and go with you and stand with you and go for it. I don't waste any time, Roy, anymore, on anyone that is not getting active. Also, after these past almost 5 years, if someone is not awake right now, they don't deserve to be spent 1 second with them.
That's very important. And what I'd like to know is, because I mean, I've been attacked left, right, and center. My awakening on YouTube has been removed. I use my own one on my personal channel, but I got Linktree, Shadowband, and even now, Zuckerberg coming out saying, "Oh, we want to do the fact checkers." Just this week, I got another kind of fact checking, so they blocked the post and it was actually a pilot in the Senate exposing the chemtrails. Like, so it's hard. How can they actually block things like that? What I've used is, like, say, Telegram groups, WhatsApp, and stuff like that. And I know people use newsletters, but for, like, can you give any other tips that people, because there's a lot of people fighting the fight, and I totally agree with you. There's no point engaging in conversations, because a load of people done that. They wasted their energy talking to a wall because someone had their belief system, and there was no way you could give them total fact, like, proof what you've done with all the research and everything, and they still don't. So you're putting your energy behind the wrong people. What other ways can people be getting their messages out?
Yeah, this is a really good question, Roy. I think we have, based on the project, based on what it is that we're talking about, there's different methods. Just as an example right now, with those strings, I gave a federal council member, we have 7, right, in Switzerland. Most countries have a president, or like in the United States, you have one top executive that makes the decision. In Switzerland, we have a council. It's the federal council, 7 members. So Albert Rushdie is the federal council member that is over the environmental protection and all that. So all the environmental laws and everything applies to him. So since I know him personally, okay, our family knows him. My dad was as a state representative, knows this Albert Rushdie's family. They know each other. We're in the same party system. And so I took the soft approach. I wrote an email. I wrote him certified mail and says, listen, Albert, we have a problem that we like to discuss with you. I am certain that you have never heard about this, but I have a laboratory, a team of scientists. The three of us were project managers over this whole thing. We would like to inform you about an extremely dangerous and a national security issue that you're responsible of in your position. I know most likely you have never heard about it. Your team doesn't know about it, but I would like to spend some time with you to explain to you. I did this. So for 2 weeks, I got blocked, and I was sent back down to the state level, and I was supposed to go make contact with laboratories at the state level that says, no, that's not what I'm asking for. We have the lab analysis. I want to have a meeting because we're dealing here with a national security issue. So they blocked me. It's like, okay, if I don't have a time with you for a meeting, I will file a criminal complaint. So I filed a criminal complaint. So this is my communication now to the government. So what did I do with my situation is I took my complaint to the federal council member that went to the prosecutors, the public prosecutors at the federal government level, and I made a template out of it. So the next step, and we started yesterday, Roy, is everybody that has found those strings in the fields, in their garden, on their animals, whatever, get a glass, a jar, fill them up, pick up these things if they haven't done so over the last 2 years. Look for those things, and you can also do it without those evidence. But if you have evidence in a jar, take my template, fill it out, and also file a criminal complaint with your evidence in the jar, plus our lab analysis. So this is a method in how people can get active and cause for hundreds, if not thousands of complaints. In multiplying, duplicating exactly that, and cause a major stir from the bottom up. And when you do this, you have staff at the federal government level that receives all this crap, right? So I'm always hoping that in the process, you're coming across staff members that are really there to filter you out and be a firewall, right? So people that are security somewhere, you can distract them, and maybe you have somewhere a chance to wake somebody up that is part of the firewall, but is thinking like, holy crap, I got a family at home. I got a baby that's crawling out in the field. Okay. I got a dog that's eating these strings. Okay. That has histamine in it. It's extremely dangerous for a dog. Okay. Or I have goats, they're eating the grass with those strings in it, and I'm drinking that milk, and it's raw milk, okay? It's like all of a sudden you have a chance to hit people in the chain of command that you would have never even had a chance to catching them. And along with this also, Roy, is I have an entire team of volunteers that do nothing but do data accumulations. So we go all over and we accumulate data in how we can write people through their personal email. So we did this. I mean, we have amazing databases, where we can hit the people through their personal email, because in TV, in the newspapers, in the magazines, they don't tell about the stuff that we do. So how do you get to these people inside the media, or how do you get into the government? How do you get it into the medical professional network? How do you get into the universities? How do you get into the political parties, like the staff of the how do you do that? Well, we accumulate that data. We go search. It's all public, but you have to spend time. So what we have done is we have a team right now going through each state in Switzerland. There's 26 states. We have 2 halves. And so 26, we're breaking them down all the way to the communes. And every commune has a website. Some of them have it all there, and some of them it's not all there, but no. But we go there and we find out, how do we write to the communes, okay? How do we write to the government body, the city council members? How do you get to the school board? How do you get to the teachers? How do you get to the police, to the fire department? How do you get to the guys that work for the tourism office that change the dog shit out of the bags? They go collect the stuff there. So we have now these teams that are accumulating that. So just as an example, Canton Aargau, they have 163 communes, websites. We went there and we got over 22,000 contacts from people that work for the government. That's your neighbor. It's even your family members that got a little job. Maybe they're only there 50% part-time. It doesn't matter. So we write these guys strategically, and we organize ourselves locally, regionally. We come together, 10, 15 people, and we have a project, just like right now what I'm talking about here with my federal criminal complaint to the federal council member, and write that themselves. And then once they've written it, whatever it is, send an email to everybody on that list of contacts and make them aware of what's going on in this world, because you're not gonna find out about your TV, okay, the federal broadcast system, radio and stuff. Nobody talks about these things. And this is how I think is the absolute best way to do activism. And then when you're locally, then you can take, based on the method of for whatever project it is, you can do flyers. You can literally go very cheap these days to make copies, and you go from house to house and put it into the mailboxes. And here in Switzerland, it is not spam if it's politically minded. In other words, you're doing something against the government or the political system and stuff. That is not it's prohibited when you're a company and you want to sell products. But we're doing in other words, a political movement, okay? In other words, informing the public, informing the citizens, and so it's legal to do this. Nobody can tell you cannot put that into the mailboxes. And that's extremely effective. When you go by the whole town and you flyer these guys, and you maybe flyer them multiple times on the same subject, different flyers. I mean, the creativity and the innovational things here, Roy, you can make very specific. And I always try to have fun with this stuff.
That's impressive. But because even say in Ireland, Cork, the councillors, that the local level, I heard one guy talking, and it was about basically they're building all these asylums and without the planning permission, and he said we can actually block that. So by sometimes people are thinking we need to get to the government, we need to get to the top level, and you can actually make so much change by getting to the lower levels. And as you're saying, I want to have the kind of other side of the fence now, because taking the criminal activities and everything. I've had over 100 court cases. I've been in court here in Poland. I've been in the High Court in Ireland. They're as corrupt as you can get. And even when I was going after the city, I was attacked left, right, and center. It was like big time. So that's the way they operate. When you've got a big organization, because I've tried to make a few changes with different things, and people would go, yeah, I hate seeing this, I hate seeing that. As soon as I try to do something like you're saying at a smaller level, they all run for the hills. And so this kind of two-part question is you're taking a criminal case, but you're going into the devil's belly as such. They run it, they own it, they control it. Is it just to get the awareness there, or how do we actually tackle a corrupt judicial system?
You just mentioned it, Roy. It's exactly it. I would say most of the people don't get it in our movement. They think, okay, now what is he even thinking going after a federal council member? Is he insane? He should know they're not going to touch this, at the federal Supreme Court level. You know what I mean? With 5G, we won cases all the way to the end of last year at the federal level. Okay, so it all has to do with strategy and obviously the methods of how you write your complaints in the process and stuff. I mean, this is a lot of know-how there, but I'm coming back to it. I know, of course, that the judicial system is extremely corrupt as well. So if we look at the executive, the legislative, and the judicial, they're all melted together. I get this. And it's worse. The media, which is really the fourth power, okay? The media is also melted right in there. They all need each other to get that thing done. And so it's no more based on the law and order or the laws and the rights. It's really based on political and decisions making. And here in Switzerland, just like it is most places too, it is the legislative body that puts those federal judges in office. So it's the parties that decide who the judicial system is gonna. Okay, so it is so crazy corrupt. So I get this, but the whole and the main thing why I'm doing this here in Switzerland is exactly to get the awareness. If I would have not filed this complaint, nobody would know about it. So by putting this complaint out, I'm reaching as far out as possible. I'm going for the very top guy. I'm shooting straight for that guy. And I know that even if I just get 25% from that, I'm super happy. But I have to go as far out. It's just like when you have a vision for a company or for a product, you need to always go as far out as you can. And if you just get 50%, you still get that 50%. That 50% is more than when you first got started. So I use this whole strategy as an educational process for everyone that's watching and duplicating. And then I built in the feedback loop, Roy, so they can see what happens to me. So I've done for 6 years now, the Telegram channel that we have, I put everything out, my email exchange, not everything, but the crucial exchange of emails, I copy that from Microsoft Outlook. Every single symbol, every number, every letter, exactly the time when was, and I put that directly into the Telegram channel. So 13,500 people get to see it instantly. And that gets shared and gets shared. So I work with transparency, Roy. That allows us to get that trust from whatever you're at to the very ones that you never hear, but they notice. They follow your channel. They never write. They're very quiet. And they read it. And you have no idea who reads your stuff in full transparency. So when I write Albert and I say, Albert, I would like to get a meeting with you because we have a national security issue here, because we're personal friends, in other words, family and stuff, I had that advantage. I took the soft approach. So all these people, thousands of people see, he's taking the soft approach. He's connecting right here. He's trying to go for his heart. The other one doesn't do it. He cannot allow himself because he's a federal council member. He's under duress to do exactly what the international community wants him to do. Their national governments, in most cases, are no longer in the control of their politics at that level. We're the third level. National governments are the third level. The decision makers are way up. That's the central bank system. It's BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street. It's the secret societies from the Vatican City of London. They're at the very top. And they bring in the World Economic Forum for their little council meetings and how they're going to go and make this new world order function across the whole world. Then the distributor down, in other words, the distributor system is then the UN. And the World Health Organization is part underneath. It's like a subsidiary of the UN. So they're using those then to distribute that crap all the way across 194, almost 200 nations worldwide. And then comes finally down to the national governments. So when you have that kind of concept figured out, then you know that at the national government level, they cannot even delegate anymore. They just have to execute what's given to them by people that we didn't vote for. So we're in such an extreme corrupt monopoly, so to say, the power structure, the monopoly in the power structure, that I feel for those dudes. So I always try the soft approach, and then I'm hitting it as hard. I'll say, it's just like when you go into the ring, martial arts. So if you decide to go fight, don't just go fight to be part of the deal. It's like I was a ski racer. I didn't go on top of a downhill in the starting gate just so I could participate in the freaking race. No, I went there. I risked my life getting out of the starting gate to do what? To win the race. So when I go after a politician like Albert here with my criminal complaint, I'm going to go for the knockout. If I go in there, I want to be the one that takes the first swing, and that has to be so hard that when you hit him, there's no coming back. You knock him out. So this is why I think this is how I do it. I'm not saying it's the right thing, but based on the success we're having by going for it first, I am not just talking about it. I'm telling the people through my transparency, my emails, my exchange, they see all my letters, my signatures, whatever. If people are going to do identity fraud with my signature, whatever, that's something else. But I want people to see this guy is putting his life at risk. So they can figure out this idiot most likely doesn't do it for ego, right? Most likely he doesn't do it for some financial gain. You have these guys that, you have people that can try to screw with you. Oh, it's like, no, this guy is going to swing. He's either going to win or he's going to die. So I'm going to go all the way out. And I take that risk, Roy. And by doing this in full transparency, there's no holding back. So anybody can say, it's like, well, this guy is not just saying it, he's doing it. I have that much confidence and trust that what this guy is doing, I can do this too at my level. And I'm going to exactly duplicate this. And I'm telling you, it's working. It's really working. And we just need more people to have faith. And I'm not saying they have to do the first move, go for the federal council member, but maybe at that local level, go after the city council members. And I think this is for you and your audience. I think probably one of the key methods that I can share, because it feels right here, is full transparency. And you got to go first. It's just like in the military. If you have the commander, he's a kilometer back there and everybody's in the front. I was in the special forces, so I know what I'm talking about. I rather have 100 special forces guys that are just like me. We're buddies, we're friends. We go through fire, we support each other. I rather have 100 behind me that are doing step for step exactly the way I do it, than having 10,000 that are just running around the field and causing havoc and killing each other in friendly fire. I'm telling you, these 100 well-coordinated, educated, informed, trustful bodies will destroy a field of 10,000 idiots running around killing themselves. That's kind of my strategy. So I'm coming back to what I said earlier, Roy. What does it do to you trying to go and wake up tens of thousands of people when you have nobody that can even write their own name? No. Focus on the ones that have carefully watched you in what you do, how you do, and then at the right time, they come say, Christian, I have watched you, and I have faith, and I have trust in how you do it, and I'm going to do it too. I am one of you, and that's how you duplicate it. It takes time. It takes patience, but that's the only way. You can't go to war in a hurry, like these guys are doing in the Ukraine right now. They're taking recruits, they're training them for 10 days, and they're putting them on the front line. I mean, this is a massacre. And, I'm sorry that I take the metaphor of war in this, but we are in a hybrid war. You know that, Roy. Your audience knows that. We are at war at every level. And it's so hard for people to understand. Because a hybrid war is asymmetric. It's not symmetric. It's asymmetric. It's from all over. They're trying to kill us with the death jab. They're trying to kill us with geoengineering. They're trying to kill us with the financial problems, with inflation and stuff. They're trying to do, good one, food, right? We're supposed to eat lab food. They are coming from every side, from everywhere. I mean, we're in a hybrid war. That means you have to get your mind and especially your heart ready for war. What do is you need to protect your family over everything. So get yourself ready for the absolute worst that could happen to you and your family first. And when you have that base with the crisis management, the preparedness, so you're ready to you have your generator, you have your guns, you have a shit ton of ammunition, because the first thing they will do is make sure there's no ammunition. Then any guns don't help you when you have no ammo. So buy the ammo while you can. Here in Switzerland, they sold our last ammunition company to the Chinese 2 years ago. Okay, that's so. Not to get out of context here, I think the people that follow our conversation here, they really understand what I'm talking about here. When you step outside, or you step into the ring, you have to anticipate what's going to happen to you. So I carefully plan our projects, and I'm not saying that everybody that follows us gets the red string. We pull the string all the way through. So we look at 5G. What the hell is 5G? Some people just focus on 5G, nothing else. Like, you don't understand the fifth generation mobile technology, now sixth and now seventh. You don't understand what that really is until you start connecting all the other dots. So this digitalization has also benefits. So right now, without the digitalization, you and I couldn't have this video conference. We get that. The good guys were innovative. They produced and they created technology that are advancing the human race. But now they're taking it to a crazy level, and they're going into the transhumanization. That is bad. That's really bad. So we have all these things that people need to become aware of, and it takes a little bit of time. And our platform has been built specifically step by step, and now we have built the whole thing, the full loop, and it start making more and more sense. And we can go back to a project that we did 3 years ago, like crisis management preparedness, when we were all running around in masks. Me not, but those that did, and we were in the lockdowns. People were getting, okay, oh my God, we need to do preparedness. Well, we did this 20 years ago. Where were you then? Doesn't matter. So, but now people go back to their normal lives. The masks are gone, the lockdowns are gone, back to normal. Instead of putting money into gold and silver and maybe some Bitcoin and maybe some, some tools for the preparedness, they go back to the freaking beach and spend 3-4 times a year making vacation. I mean, this is so crazy for me. You know what I mean? So.
No, that's all fascinating. And just because what I've noticed is with a lot of the people that I've had on the show, even then, because I had written a book, but I was told not to release it because I was exposing too many different things. But I eventually, after the kind of lockdown, I said, okay, people are a bit more awake now, and and all the websites were gone. So they remove. So how can people protect their website, their domain name? Because they seem to control everything, because you can build up a data. I know you should be saving everything and you should have a few little things like, you're talking about the Telegram, but is there a way or a different domain that people can use that's more better than the GoDaddy and the other ones that they'd be using?
Yeah, I think it's key to have a redundancy based on what platform you plan to do. In our situation is I know the CEO of the technology company that is hosting our stuff. And so we have things worked out that even if the government were to shut us down, that we will have this thing mirrored and it will pop up somewhere else in the world on a different server. So I think we have to have various backups from our websites and the content and stuff. And with WordPress websites, there's pros and cons. WordPress websites these days allow you to be extremely fast, efficient, effective, but you have to maintain the security updates with the plugins and all that stuff, because they can get hacked really quick. But I think the level that you're talking about is when you have government take you offline, that's a level that you need to actually spend some time, and you need to talk this through with people that really can give you a good hand here with the redundancy. So we are set up that if they take us down, we will pop back up. So that's why it's important, Roy, for you and your audience, that if they like an organization, if they like a website, it's smart to participate in a newsletter. So for a case, if they were to take us offline, let's just say we lose Telegram, which is our main social media, because there the censorship isn't as advanced as in other places. So if we lose the Telegram channel, if we lose our website, we have access to your email. I can email you from anywhere in the world where there is still internet and or also power. So when you have the databases stored offline, you have your contacts in Excel spreadsheets and stuff like that. You can contact your network anywhere from anywhere in the world. So if I'm not allowed to host our website again in Switzerland, I will most likely be communicating to them through another continent, and let these people know where we're at, what happened, and again, provide them transparency. So nobody thinks it's like you left them in the dust. No, our website got taken down by the government, and this is our, call for help here. Here is a sign of life. We're still here. We're working on getting the next website up and going. If it requires a different domain, you can communicate over the newsletter database to your network. That's why I suggest to everybody that if they have not done newsletter registration with their favorite platforms, like by yourself as well, Roy, I don't know exactly how you manage that. If they have not gotten the newsletter sign up with you, they need to do this. So for some reason you're being taken offline.
Excellent. So we go back to the spider's web. So first of all, they're obviously spraying it. So you might explain to people, how are they able to actually get that out? What kind of technology is creating a spray that looks like a spider's web?
Yes. For the people that maybe haven't followed that, we have now done various interviews, and one of them that you want to probably give everyone a chance to see is the one from Renette. Then we explain the whole lab analysis, what's exactly all in it. But here, giving you a sum up, we looked at these strings that looked like spiders. Our government told us these were hyperactivity from spiders here in Switzerland. So the media and the government co-colluded and tried to tell us, calm down, dudes, you guys are nuts. These are natural spider webs, forget it. So I walked into those things. They felt different on my skin. They were very sticky and stuff. So I had reports from all over in our Telegram chats like, hey, I see this, I see that. It's like, guys, go ahead and start accumulating, send it to us. So I got stuff from all over Europe sent to us. Then I talked to my physicist friend and I said, you know what, this is what's going on. He says, yeah, I'm aware too. I live in the country. The farmer is a biofarmer. And he told me about those things as well. So we got into the dialogue, and then I said, you know what? Could you find out? He's a very, very smart guy. He worked in the patents with patents in a law firm and stuff like that. And so he's not a lawyer himself. He's a physicist, but he was able with his know-how figuring things out. So he said, Christian, I found some patents that if we can confirm there's a whole space inside, I think we know what we're dealing with. So I went to my engineer and application chemist that has access to a lab, has his own lab, and he has access to a huge lab here in Switzerland. So we put the team together. We were in there and started this, in November 2022. So 22 months later, and obviously throughout it, I got, my briefs on what's going on. We were able to figure out that these strings, first, I went to another lab. I forgot to tell you this. I went to a normal lab, a very famous lab, and they told me it was nylon, so it was like plastic. Okay, so they just looked at it, very top surface space. They didn't go dig deep, not deep enough. So in other words, it is not a synthetic polyamide. It is not. It is not nylon. So what we found out is that those are really amino acids. It's proteins. So it is like the technology is based like what a spider could be doing. Okay, but spider webs are not whole inside. So in this whole lab process, we knew we had to get a cut and be able to look inside and see if it's whole. Then it will be a transport mechanism for pesticides all the way to biological and also medical applications. Then we got really like, wow, okay. And so after that, we went through 7 different methods in the lab. That's why it took so long. So it's the absolute state-of-the-art lab analysis with the state-of-the-art equipment. So we were extremely lucky. Such a lab analysis, Roy, cost between minimum 150 to 250,000 Swiss francs. And what we were able to find out is that these things are so toxic. So the outer layer is amino acids, but the inside, we figured in the cut, it was filled. It had stuff in it. So first we thought they probably just spun this off. It's electrospinning from airplanes or drones. So they can spin us from top down, okay? And we knew, okay, that this technology is so intense that they can actually have multiple layers inside. So they can have a whole space, a layer of transport material, and then an outer layer of filled space, and then. It's almost like a multi-layer tube, nanotube. So, and when we dig into this whole stuff, we then extracted the inside, and the inside is what's really causing the toxicity. And we first thought they were just testing the spinning part, the electrospinning, to make sure they can spin it, they can bring it down, and they can confuse the people and the governments and the media and everybody that this is normal spider web. No, it's not. So, but then we were really surprised that they actually weren't testing this thing out. It was an actual live application. It was not testing ammunition. It was the real life ammunition, so to say. So we went through these extra steps, Roy, and then in this last step, in the 7th method, we then found out the different substances that were inside there, all the way to stuff that is highly flammable, it's extremely hazardous, it's corrosive, it's highly toxic, And through the safety data sheets, SDS, this is a worldwide database, all these substances, these compounds that companies use in products, they have to be registered. Okay, so like DuPont and stuff like that, the United States, you know, they make all these crazy chemicals and stuff. This all has to be registered. And the absolute craziest thing that we figured out is what, Roy? We found substances in there that don't exist in a worldwide database. New materials that are not even found in these databases that have been registered all over the world. That is scary stuff. So when we put our heads together, Roy, it's like, wow, this definitely must have military application, because the military, they're not registering that shit on those databases, what they're doing. So excuse my French, it's crazy. We're dealing here with an extremely high level toxic situation that I don't even grasp how dangerous this stuff really is. I have to say, it's in small amounts in those strings, you can imagine. But when you repeat this and you repeat it, those strings have a time release in it. There can be triggering a time where they're released inside. They're dissolving in the saliva. They're dissolving in the blood. They're dissolving in rainwater. So you can spray a cornfield. The stuff is there like spiders and stuff. And then when the next rain comes, or also heat can also dissolve it, melt it, and disperse it. It's so crazy. So we're endangered, not just we as humans, but our animals, and especially also our flora, our nature, all the grasses. So I was asked in an interview by a TV station, this is an alternative TV station here in Switzerland. It was like, Christian, this sounds so crazy. So what do you think is the mission? Okay. So what are you trying to accomplish with those strings? And I have to say, I have to leave this project to figure out, and I have to go all the way back over to our project that we did on the UN Agenda 2030. When we have climate change, we have the pharmaceutical cartels. In the 14 of these 17 targets, they're talking about vaccination. It's like, holy crap. So what is the connection? And the only thing that makes sense for me, Roy, and your dear audience, is that those bastards are trying to poison our gardens, our animals, because everyone that's living out in the field who is doing crisis preparedness, right? Self-sustained. I have my garden, I grow my fruit, my all my vegetables, I got my pigs, I got my chickens, I got all this beautiful. Oh no, they want to poison us and then force us into the 15-minute cities that they're trying to do all over the world. That, I think, is the motivation behind geoengineering and weather manipulation, to make sure that we out in the country have been poisoned. So, and then they force us into the inner cities, and then we're supposed to be eating lab food, lab-produced food, lab meat, and all this crap that Bill Gates is funding. So I think this is the absolute main agenda. What the Trump administration is going to do, what it's willing, if they're all part of that, they're just switching gears to get everyone else more confused. We don't know. The next 4 years, I think we're going to go see things. It's absolutely crazy. I am not taking side with Trump. I'm not taking side with Putin. I say in the very top, they're all talking, okay, similar things, because whoever has control over the monetary system, the debt monetary system, I think in the very top, these guys are all talking. There's just a freaking theater at that level that we see and can be aware. But we're in such a level of a hybrid war that even I think the smartest guys, I mean, we have podcasters all over, and we have all these guys that talk about this. We haven't seen the last, I think, and I am trying to be on my toes. I don't take side. And but what we do is all the positive that comes off the rattle that's happening now with Trump, positive, right? He's kicking out the mainstream media. He's taking in alternative media. That's great. He's shutting down the USA, all the corruption, money flow, blah, 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 CIA front. That is great. I mean, there's so many. I mean, the guy in 2 weeks, he did so many great things. So all the Trump haters, I say, or Trump lovers, I say, okay, don't get blinded, okay? I mean, there's good and bad mixed with each other. But I do say, and I use this for our own platform, all the positive, take it and absolutely leverage that in your own nation. So if you're in Poland, take what he's doing positive in the United States, and with your network, push that up on your government, anyone that's a decision maker, even a businessman. Guys, stop, okay, all your mainstream media subscriptions. Stop doing advertising on mainstream media, putting money into a budget supporting alternative news. I say alternative, the new media. And the new media, who know who that is, Roy? Every one of them. I am the new media. I am, me personally. I, as an individual human being, I am the new media. I can make a difference. Everyone. And then use this to put pressure on our own government to do exactly what the United States is doing right now, cleaning up the corruption, reducing the government bureaucracy, this monopoly, this power monopoly, break it down and rub it right in there. And I think we have so many great things. I mean, I can barely sleep right now. I mean, I was awake most of the night, not because of our interview, but I can't wait to get up and see the latest news from the administration over there and see what else they have splashed. You know, I mean, it's amazing. Then that's the positive thing. Maybe towards the end of our interview, I don't know. Right? I like to end on a positive note. It's like, what can we do? It's like, we're living in such a most amazing time. I'm excited to be alive now. There's people, they're depressed and they are just, their emotional anguish, they're halfway destroyed, they're like paralyzed, they can't do anything. I wish I would have lived 80 years ago, it would have been nice. And no, I mean, this is exciting to be alive right now. So I encourage everyone right now, get something that motivates you, get something out of what Trump is doing that is positive, and start doing something, because by doing it, you're kind of distracted from the negative, and you meet people, you get to meet people, you get to exchange, you have conversation. Excuse me. And that is, I think, that's the absolute key. We go out and meet other people and share the pros and the cons, and that's part of makes us human. And us humans, we can't give up because they're trying to transhumanize us all together. We can't let this happen.
So totally agree with you. I mean, even like with the genders, coming out with that, signing the bill on that, because even in Germany and in Ireland, you know, in kindergartens, they're pushing that. And they're like, I know through the education system, because one of the guys, Ivor Cummins, had documentation showing it. So that totally gives you fuel for ammunition to fight them, like when you've got a ruling over in the States, because, you know, like as we know, the States sneezes, we catch the cold. So like that's one. Because I definitely have to get, because there's so much to touch on. But what I'd like to know, because you're surrounded, you do things properly. You don't wing it, you don't guess it. You've got the science. But the problem is when you're talking to people that just got hoodwinked, brainwashed, like you've got big pharma, and they can do a test, and there could be 3,000 people that were tested, but they eliminate 95%, and then they got a different result, and that's going on. And there's so much of that. There's so much, trust the science, but we know it's trust the dollar, who's funding it and all that. for those that are kind of on the fence or those that are really trying to do the research, how do they know what science to trust? How can they navigate that one?
Wow. I think we have to come down to senses. You know what I mean? I think less is more. I would always, if you feel sick and you don't feel good, I wouldn't go to a medical doctor. I would go to someone that has studied the natural healing and is connected with nature, because all our answers are really in nature. I'm obviously happy that if I have a car accident and I smash myself up, to be able to get to the emergency room and have
Not want to get acupuncture.
I get that. So I want to be fair to the medical establishment. There is a place for that, okay? But when we talk about vaccination, we don't need any vaccinations, none of this stuff. Our body has its own immune system. And you now see everyone that did go, because they don't know anything about their biological system. They have never spent, and that's part of the school system. We don't learn anything about us as a human being, the biology. We're brainwashed, we're indoctrinated and stuff. Everything else is more important than figuring out what we're supposed to eat. Then you are what you eat, what you drink. Okay, so cheeseburgers every day with a Coke cannot possibly be good for you. But we don't learn about that stuff. So, the Western system, the Western medical system is based on treating symptoms and not the cause. So I think we need to come back and figure this all out. And too bad. I mean, anyone that was under duress and gave in and took that desk job, and took the boosters, it is a fact, okay? We had different charges, So the potency of the shot is very different. So if you're lucky, you didn't get as potent as some who probably died over this or have massive side effects and are now dying on turbo cancer. I know that any booster shot and stuff compromised your own immune system. And I see this around me. I have dear friends that didn't listen, okay, because I don't have a medical degree. So if you're not a doctor in Switzerland, who are you? Why should I listen to you? It's like, well, just see what happens. So now they're slowly coming and say, dude, I think you're right. My immune system is shot. It's like, you're right. So you compromised your immune system. So I would tell anybody that is listening here to you is stop taking any medicines. And I'm talking about anything, tetanus, stop taking tetanus shot. So, I mean, I personally was, involved in a car accident in 1970, a few years ago, in 2017. And then a year later, I had to go and operate my knee. And an operation table, they gave me a cocktail. I still don't know what it is, but I almost died on the operation table just for a freaking meniscus operation. And so 4 days later, so I gave myself blood thinner and stuff at home, so it was no big deal. 4 days later, almost died on a multiple embolism, lung embolism. And so I got a disease, a blood clot disorder now, okay, over that cocktail they put into me. So I researched this with Dr. Sherry Tenpenny, very famous in the United States. She's done a amazing laboratory and follows this whole thing for many years. She's like 45,000 hours in researching all these vaccines, right? What they're causing. So through her, I found out that in Slovenia or Slovakia, there's a study that evidenced that tetanus, after multiple tetanus shots, that you actually have the issue of blood clotting and all that stuff. So you get a disease actually out of these things. So, I mean, this is, and we're not being informed when we go in to get the shot, It's usually like you have to give consent to do this and stuff, but the most doctors, they don't tell you anything about it. They don't know what's in it. And now we're into the influenza shot. So the mRNA technology is now being put into all sorts of things. So it's really dangerous to actually go to a doctor and get a shot because you don't know what's in it. So I would refer back to nature and natural healing, and absolutely, on the absolute last chance, I would consult a medical doctor for something like that that has to do with health. I go to the hospital when I break my leg and get this thing put together, yes. But for health, I would not go to a medical doctor anymore.
I think we've been conditioned with all the jabs because with animals, like they made it look like get your dog jabbed once or twice a year and put a chip on him. And I mean, I had a dog. Maybe we got the Stemper injection, but that was it, and he lived for 16. And I had my brother dog got jabbed, and it died big after the jab. And I had Dr. Peter McCullough on. And when we were talking to him, and I mentioned, and he goes, "Come to think of it, my animal has been sick since we got him jabbed." So he's saying this on a live podcast. So like, they basically for years have been conditioning us to think that it's normal to do that, and then they transferred to the humans. And I didn't see much carnage regarding the COVID with it, but after the jabs, I saw people in Poland, in England, in Ireland, so many dying at a young age. And like, even I've got one guy, he's been on a few times on my show, Scott Shara. He's having a lawsuit against them. They actually killed his daughter who had Down syndrome. And this is across the board. And, it's so sad to see. But everything that you have said today and all the solutions, because at the end of the day, that's all you need. And it's grassroots levels and it's fighting. And the fact that you're actually giving so much resources, and I will give the link for that interview because I watched it, and as you say, it goes into depth, and it's worth actually watching and going through because you've got all the graphs, you've got your team that's discussing it in detail, and it's fantastic interview. So listen, I need to get you back because everything that you're doing, but you might let people know where's the best place, Christian, to find you.
Yeah, I think the best thing is the website, and I'm sure you're going to provide that in your show notes. This is Verein Wir. So it's VEREINWIR.ch. The website, it's a WordPress website. So on the top right corner, you can choose your language. We have German as the main, and then you have Italian, French, and English. So you can go. And of course, when there are documents and stuff, it won't translate, but the actual text in the website translate into the translation that you choose. So, I mean, this is I think the first and the best is the website. And then if you can, also the Telegram channel. But of course, we communicate in German. Some things are in English, but we are German speaking. We're in the German speaking part of Switzerland. And we're challenged ourselves here. I mean, we have 4 languages, actually 5, if you add also English. So we're such a small country, but we have to deal with so many different languages. And we don't have the resources in our nonprofit to translate everything in all these different foreign languages. We do it in projects that it is essential that we do that. Also letters that we may do for criminal complaints or lawsuits and stuff like that. We provide those in other languages, but most of it is in German. That's why the website is the best source. And of course, I always come back supporting you, Roy, you and your audience. I am pleased. Poland. I mean, we just did one 2 nights ago in Canada. That's coming live. That's coming out today. That was with my lab team. So Hans-Jörg Grether and Philip Seller, they were actually present. So there was the 3 total. So that has a different format of an interview, and my technical guys are there as well. So we went into technical things. But for anyone in your show that really wants to know the details of the strings and the chemicals and all that stuff, all those details, we can go and get that to refer, the interview we did with Reinette in the United States. That is English. We translated our PowerPoint presentation from German to English. So everything is in English, and you can print it out, and I think that's the best thing. to go from there.
Okay, perfect. And I just encourage the listeners as well, if they can, to make a donation. And sometimes people, maybe they don't have the funds, but they might have the ability of translation. So if they could offer their services of doing translations, that's all helping. And I just say as well, giving thumbs up, sharing, just putting it on different groups. If you're in a WhatsApp group or you're in a Telegram group, if you enjoy what we've done or it's interesting, share it on the different groups. That's how we actually get the message out. So listen, Tristan, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks to the audience. And, we pray that we're going to just keep the positiveness. And that's all we can do right now. So thank you so much for all your work. And I hope that your audience is supporting you and I get more people to support the alternative new media. But as I shared, Roy, we all are the media. We all can do our part and supporting you and your audience and your platform. So thank you so much for everything that you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian. That's all for the Awakening Podcast. You'll find all our episodes on awakeningpodcast.org. Sure to give us thumbs up, 5-star rating, as I mentioned, and share with your friends. Until next week, take care.
So I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. As mentioned at the start, you can find my 6 podcasts on roycollin.com or scan the QR code. If you're looking to start a podcast or do a podcasting tour, I help with that. Also, if you're looking for a virtual assistant, we also have that service. And you can help the show by visiting the store, supporting our sponsors, or making a donation. Until next week, take care.